could be us.
Where are we at? As soon as it tells me to go live.
You Nolan, even your you rock it like that.
All right, and we are
Picks
live.
up on that mic.
All right, we are live. Thank you for tuning into Houston Recovery Radio. Houston Recovery Radio is a platform that tries to speak and bring people into the solution of recovery. Shout out to the sponsor. We would like to take a moment to say thank you to our sponsor, Transformation Enzymes, who have been kind enough to let us use this space we are in to host Houston Recovery Radio. Transformation Enzymes is an integrative, holistic health and wellness company that specializes in the enzyme therapy. Detoxing from drugs and alcohol, it is physically and emotionally taxing on our body. Transformation Enzymes has a clinical proven line of probiotics and digestive enzymes that help the healing process the body needs from all the damage caused by addiction and alcoholism. For more information, visit the website at transformationenzymes.com. We would like to give a huge shout out to our guest, Miss Dorothy West.
Yes!
Love this, Dorothy.
So welcome, Miss
All right.
Dorothy West, to Houston Recovery Radio. Would you like to introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, hello, I'm Dorothy West. I am a person in long-term recovery. And what that means to me is I haven't had to use any mood, mind-altering chemicals since October 9th, 2003. So just coming up on 17 years clean.
All right.
Yes.
Yay!
All of you ought to be happy about that. Tyrant. I know I'm happy about it. I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, so I wanted to, I guess there was supposed to be something that was to be figured out before this. I was supposed to get an email from my buddy, but to know what I was going to say. But since I don't have that, I'm just going to kind of wing it and just ask Miss Dorothy about how her recovery journey started. And yeah, let's get started on that.
Well, my recovery journey started, my pathway to recovery is Alcoholics Anonymous. And back in Deer Park, Pasadena area,
Okay.
went to the New Hope Women's Center.
Okay.
And, well, you know, like many stories, you know, it's been in and out, trying to get clean and really failing miserably. And I remember my last use at that time, because I didn't sober up just because I went in, but when I did go in, that first time, you know, I kept calling them. It's like, you know, they were waiting for them to say, no, don't come, you know.
Oh, we don't want you.
Right. So it's like I called them all day long, and they kept saying, well, come on, we have a bed. So, you know, it was just miserable. And so I finally didn't make it in there. And I mean, they made me laugh. I think that was the biggest deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this one lady, she sat next to me, and, you know, I was hiding behind my big hands and trying to, you know, just shrink into the couch. And, you know, she sat next to me. And, you know, I said I wasn't supposed to be here. And she says, well, why not? I said, well, y'all are talking about God and stuff, you know, God doesn't want anything to do with me. And so she just kind of saying, well, you didn't lose everything. And, you know, because I thought I lost everything. And she says, I said, well, what do you mean? I have nothing. She says, well, you have Reeboks on. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
All right.
I got Reeboks on, you know, it's like a big deal that I.
Classics?
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know, she just kind of made the intensity of the occasion really lighthearted. And so I kind of, you know, I ended up staying 3 years.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you came into recovery, your substance of use was alcohol.
And I used a whole lot of crack.
So can you share one of your experiences when you were actively using? Something that sticks out to you.
Moving to Denver.
Okay.
Went to Denver to help my sister because her husband had a knee replacement. And, you know, like I said, I've been in New Hope at that time, and I left when I left. And so I go out there to help her and her husband. And I was in this very bad relationship. And I heard many, many times, don't get in a relationship, but it did. And I took this fellow with me to Denver. So, you know, it's like, you know, my brother-in-law did pass. He had a blood clot from his knee. And it was just so strange. I had every reason to really be there for my sister. And I was really trying to be, you know, right there for her. But, you know, it's like the guy I was out there with, he went back out. So I was really concerned with him. I was concerned with her, you know, and I was just like, you know, really battling. And I just remember going to check on him one time, and he was using, and I just ended up going back out, and I didn't even check on my sister anymore. You know, it was just really strange, but the power that the drug had over me, you know. And I always blamed him, of course, you know.
Was he a handsome fella?
Not at all.
No. Did he have Reeboks?
No, he didn't. Matter of fact, everything I had, you know, I went to Denver in December. You know, that was insane in itself.
Oh.
And sold my shoes, sold the Reeboks. Here we go. I sold the coat. You know, in Houston, you can sleep at the bus stop. In Denver, you cannot. So, you know, so it was really some intense, you know, I would say education in my addiction, you know, because I really felt like I failed my sister who just lost her husband. You know, I had went against, you know, everything they said in the rooms, you know, as far as, you know, some of the good advice they gave me, I didn't take heed to. And I knew I had a stomach and a mind full of old behavior. And so it just all came tumbling down at once, you know. So that was something that, you know, when on top of that, I found out I was pregnant. You know, I thought I was getting big. You know, I started doing, you know, sit-ups. And
in the Baja City, too, right?
Maybe I need to go there and get pregnant. I don't know. Get closer to God.
Right? The nosebleed section.
Right. So I don't know, but either which way, I didn't know I was pregnant in my first trimester. So when I did find out, I was kind of like selling blood plasma.
Okay.
And they told me that's how I found out that I was pregnant. And so it was still hard to quit. So, you know, and I did call, you know, my support group back in Houston. So back in Pasadena, and I came in and I went to Santa Maria.
You came back and you went to Santa Maria Hostel.
Yes, I am an alumni of Santa Maria.
Santa Maria Hostel as well. I'm alumni as well. September the 11th, 2013. So when you came back to Houston and you went to Santa Maria and you went back into treatment, this was your second time? Third time?
Second, third, I lose. I'm
okay. Okay, so you were back.
After I had my child, you know, and I know a lot of women say I'm never going to use again once, you know, the baby was in the world. But I found myself high after 6 months of her being in the world. Really was devastating.
Moral.
Yeah, you know, beating myself up, you know, and you know, I'm kind of glad that, you know, she's now 17. She always tells me she's a little older than me because I got 16 years right now, and she's 17, so she reminds me she's older than me. And but I'm glad that I got a chance to see that even my child would not keep me sober. So, and I got a chance to see that early. So it was really, really an eye opener, and I had individuals that showed me tough love, you know, because I was abandoned by my mother.
Yes.
And I just could not see, you know, putting this child through that pain and misery of losing your mom, and here I was. So, you know, it was a lot going on, a lot of disappointment, and then a lot of motivation too, and drive. to really get involved in recovery. What is it? I was so active in, even though like my mom abandoned me, I grew up as a person in the state's custody and foster child. I was a foster kid. And it was really a it was an upbringing I really did not want to put her through. The anger that built up over the years. Not being able to be with my mom. I just thought that was something that I had an opportunity to not put in another person's life. Because this was a little person, and this little person is like God entrusted, me with. And I was like, really? God got jokes because he gave me a kid, right?
God is humorous.
Yes. But, she's been a blessing in my life. And I believe she was instrumental in helping me grow up as I continue to stick around Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yes.
And work the steps. I got some closure and some healing from that. And that was the beginning because I hadn't had to take another drink or a drug since. So, it was pretty
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Santa Maria Hostel is a treatment center here in Houston, Texas, that caters to women with children. It's the only facility here in Houston that does that. So you were able to come into the facility while you were pregnant with your daughter.
Exactly.
So your daughter gave you the motivation to at least try to do something different for the well-being of her.
Yeah.
So you stayed there at Santa Maria. For how long did you stay there?
I stayed there till probably like 3 months. No, it had to be about 9 months. Because like I said, I was going into my second trimester when I got there, and I stayed probably about 3 months after she was born.
Yeah.
So, and then I went and found, what's his name? Yeah.
What's his name? Are you referring to your husband?
Well, he wasn't my husband at
Shout
that
out to
time.
Mr. West.
Mr. West.
Oh, okay. Well,
This was, what's his name that I went to Denver with? Yeah.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I thought maybe it'd be different because here I had his child, and I thought it would kind of help him get clean too, and it didn't.
It didn't?
That's when, like I said, my daughter being in the world, 6 months, and I relapsed, going back to that. So.
I just wanted to say too that the respect level that I have for women in recovery, that I hear that have a lot of similar stories. When they have another human being that they have to care for, my heart goes out to them, and man, I couldn't fathom that. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to give a shout out to y'all, man. I think y'all are very tough, and tough is, yeah. So that's all I want to say about that. I just wanted to comment.
So after your reoccurrence in your behavior of coping with alcohol, and so how long did it take you to come back into treatment?
1 week.
1 week?
1 week. I mean, I had tough love. Like I said, they threatened to call CPS on me. I mean, that was just one time. I've been out a week. I've been in the rooms, and I was one to go in the rooms and come out of the rooms, and and I learned that big book, and I'll be spouting some stuff, and really did not have an idea on how to live it, but still, I did build a lot of relationships with the old timers, and they never turned their back on me, so
Yes.
it was heartbreaking, to go back out at that time with her in the world, but then again, they told me to keep coming back. So that's what I did. And when I did come back, they didn't treat me any different. We just picked up where we left off, talking about building a relationship with God, who keeps me sober, and and I pushed her in her stroller because I stayed close to the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I pushed her in her stroller in 103-degree heat. I come through that door, they'll hand me a handkerchief, and I sit out and have a meeting.
So
I
you
did that
found
every day.
a community that loved you
That's right.
and that was there for you no matter what.
That's
Who
right.
supported you in every aspect in your life. So with that motivation, with that support, it motivated you to move forward in your life.
Absolutely. I don't know if I would have made it. I mean, they had their little approaches with me, you know, because it was someone close that said, I'll call CPS, you know what I mean? So it was, you know, they didn't pat me on the back. You know, they really, you know, it's like, for example, they'll take me out to eat, and I was like, cool, you know, you go for coffee after A&Es, and they'll take me out to eat, and we'll all be sitting there, and they'll let me order what I wanted, and I'll just be in there eating, and they'll be talking about me, and I guess they figured that they knew me, like I couldn't talk, and I would have to listen, and I would be eating and crying, you know, because they would be telling me the truth, you know, and so it was kind of like, in hindsight, looking back, it was like, well, you know, they got to know me enough to what it was going to take to have me hear the message. You know, stuff her mouth. You know,
Feeding some constructive criticism.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
With eggs and pancakes.
Yes. And so I love them. And, you know, the main thing is I learned from just sticking around the rooms and raising my daughter in the rooms, you know. They didn't just love me, they loved her. I didn't know how to raise a kid, so they were there for her too, you know. So we were like a family, you know. And the thing is, you know, my sponsor that, you know, that took me through the 12 steps, man, she's rough as they come. She was old motorcycle chick, and she'd come in with her chaps in her boots, and she'd look like, I'm gonna sponsor you, mama. I was like, oh man, I didn't want no parts of her. You know? I'm like, I didn't ask for this. And man, you know, but I was, you know, a little ways into my recovery.
Yes.
I got beat down. You know, I think I had about a year and 4 months when she walked into my life, you know, because I'd always come in, try to work the steps, and try to do what they said do, but you know, something, you know, like I said, there was something I wasn't willing to do. And there was a lot of things I wasn't willing to do, a lot of things I wasn't willing to give up.
What were some things that you were not willing to give
I wasn't
up?
willing to give up, what's his name?
Okay.
Okay. I wasn't willing to give up, you know, some behavior that I used to get money. I wasn't willing to give up I don't know if it was ego. I wasn't willing to give up
Ego.
just my way of doing things, you know. So, and it kept getting me drunk, and I didn't know that. But when my sponsor came along, she helped me to identify,
Yes.
you know, in giving things up. You know, there was a replacement that came with it. So I felt empty for a long time because, of course, you know, she explained it as if, you know, especially during a 4-step, putting a lot of stuff down
Moral
there.
inventory.
Right. And then, so she explained it, just because I was willing to discard it and get rid of it, that doesn't mean it's gone. You know, she says, you know, God has a trash company, you know, he sends those trucks around to pick up stuff. And then sometimes it's just not heavy trash day. And I had a lot of heavy trash.
Yeah.
And I had to look at that stuff every day.
Yes.
You know, as I backed out of my, you know, you back out of your driveway and you see your trash, I'm like, oh, why did I throw that away? I need that manipulation. You know,
Addressing uncomfortable things in our life. Some of the trauma that we have gone through in our lives, and we have to take a look and have to face that fear, having to take a look at it and rummage through that trash, and to be able to be okay with that trash, right, being a part of our lives.
Yeah, well, I tell you, she was good at what she did and what she does. I'm sure she's still at it, but I lost contact with her over the years. But yeah, she helped me see a pattern. It says, and you know, you're looking for a common manifestation of self.
Okay.
So I got to see, you know, the things that are within me that are common and that keeps defeating me.
Yes.
And she helped me to learn to, you know, be patient and allow God to remove, the defects, because I see it, I want it gone, and then I get disappointed because I'll still do it again, and so on and so forth. So she was really good about, you know, just telling me to trust the process.
Yes.
And, the hardest part of that was when I had to make amends to my mother while she left me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't see where I had to do that, and she just said, do it anyway. So as I did, and she had passed by then. So I never got a chance to talk to my mom. I lost her at age 6, and so she lived 14 more years. But, I went to the graveside, did a graveside amends. So I go there, and I really was like, okay, just going through the motions, and I'm reading her the letter. Obviously, I've seen through my 4-step that I had some years that I could have went and reached out to her instead of remain angry.
Yes.
Right.
So, but I didn't see that. I was angry.
Oh, yeah.
So years had
Yes.
passed, and I wasn't able to make that amends. I wasn't able to, say, hey, Mom, what happened? Why'd you give me away? But still, again, when I did make that graveside amends, I really, like I said, I was just trusting the process and doing what my sponsor told me to do. And when I walked away, I was kind of like, okay,
So
What now?
during your
Mm.
process, you grew, and you learned to forgive others, along with forgiving yourself
mhm.
in the process.
Yes, I do believe that's, what the steps are supposed to help you see and generate. But, it is a process. And I think just going through the process the best you can,
Yes.
being as honest as you can, and giving these things away, being willing to, make amends. And I walked away, and I really didn't feel anything until I went to go pick up my daughter. And, it just hit me in my chest. I lost my wind. It just, when I seen my kid, it's like all the love my mother had for me hit me in my chest at once.
So you said you went to go pick up your child.
Mhm.
Was she with
After
you?
making my graveside amends, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like it just took my breath away. And so I really started believing in the process and the spiritual connection I was making with my higher power. Because again, as long as I wasn't depending on Dorothy's way, then that was spiritual.
So-
Anything anybody could tell me was better than.
Anything opposite of me is closer to God. That's what I would.
Hey, I
So-
figured
my
he
opinion.
sent good people like you all. Anytime someone had something to share with me, and you got through to me, and I literally took the suggestion. It had to be God.
Yeah. So learning to take guidance from
Mhm.
God, learning to be obedient,
Yeah.
and seeking for that guidance and allowing that guidance to take place in your life to help you move forward.
Right.
So I understand that you are a teacher of recovery coaches. So you went to school,
Yeah. Yeah.
went to college.
Yeah, I did. Like I said, along my journey, I guess maybe a question we might all get to at one point in time is like, what's my purpose? I had all these jobs.
Mhm.
I put hitches on you. I thought I was going to go be the customer service. I ended up learning how to put hitches on vehicles, and
Hell yeah.
and I cleaned 12 toilets daily, and.
Mhm.
So I did a lot of jobs as I prayed to my God and asked him, what do you want me to do? And in the meantime, working the steps, my 12-step means I had to give it away.
Yes.
So in that process, I found that, I was able to help another. And so that's what kind of opened the door into counseling.
Mm.
So it was someone else's suggestion, and thank God it didn't come from my head. But it was someone else's suggestion that,
Yes.
you ought to be a counselor. I said, what? And then I was like, well, I will be able to feed my kid, and I won't have to be out in the sun, So actually going to school was, what other people seen in me.
Yes.
And it wasn't like, sometimes say, this is what I want to do. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I loved health and fitness.
Yes.
I went to Southern Illinois University. I played volleyball
Okay.
for SIU. That's in Illinois. Carbon, Illinois. And
Yeah.
So, I was somewhat good, and I tried out for the Olympics, and but that's another story, because the alcohol and the weed and the drugs caught up with me faster than anything,
Yes.
So, like I said, that's a whole nother story of disappointment that we have to have another hour. But nevertheless, I really loved the body. I love just the amazing ability that God has given us, and I wanted to study that. And I really was curious, because I wondered, someone that was so athletic and so focused on health could get so lost in drug addiction. I didn't, it just floored me, because where I used to be so sure that I can get healthy and stay healthy, all of a sudden I couldn't get healthy. And I knew nothing about addiction. I mean, like I said, I was in AA. I didn't know anything about addiction. I knew I was addicted. But I didn't, schools teaches you, your neurotransmitters and
The dopamine and the neurotransmitters and the pleasure reward system and the limbic system and how
Equilibrium.
it works.
Keyword
That's a good
librium.
word.
I know.
Hey, I get that. I don't know why. Equilibrium. That's for me, bud.
Like going
Right.
to school,
Yes.
it teaches you that, because I'm similar to your story, because when I went back to school as well to be a counselor, I didn't want to be a counselor. I was going to be into business, and I was going to open up my own cleaning place,
Okay.
and I was going to make money, because I made money before. So now I'm going to make money now, and I'm going to open up my own business. I'm a good salesperson.
Mhm.
But then along the way, I realized that I had to go to school, right? Because I had to help others, right? Help others with people who had addiction. They were active in their addiction. So how was I going to be able to help another individual from not being lost in life, right? With not being so consumed with alcohol and drugs. And so I also too went back to school, right? Because others, I remember my sister played a really big instrumental part. She goes, Cecilia, so what are you going to do? Because I was living with my sister. And so she went and she printed me up the program for LCDC, which took 1.5 years, took me 5. And she brought it to me. She goes, this is what you need to do. These are the classes that you need to take. And this is what it sounds like.
That's it.
And so I started that approach, right? So that I can have a better understanding of how addiction played such a huge role in my life, and how
Right.
it impacted me so greatly, where I just lost course of my life.
Yes.
So going to school and learn. I love the science. I love the science of addiction, because it helped me have a better understanding.
Absolutely. And I had a lot of fear about going back to school. Because like I said, I've been in school. I know how to be studious and stuff, but it was the idea of, can I learn again? Can I learn?
Right.
And
Can we retain all this information?
Exactly.
Can we keep the knowledge, and can we help others by
Yeah.
teaching them that knowledge? Because
well, I
We don't
wasn't
wanna-
thinking about anybody else. I was just full of fear. And I was full of fear about going back to school, and I would tell anybody now that, hey, just do it. They taught me, sometimes, I would go into things as if I'm supposed to know, but no, that's why you go to school. Hey, go figure, right?
figure.
Yeah, but they taught me step by step, and every day, and I would say this prayer, that if I show up, will you help me? So that simple prayer kept me just showing up to class, because it wasn't like I couldn't learn. I wouldn't go to school. So my biggest task was showing up.
Right.
So when I showed up, the professor taught, I learned, and it was all good. So I'm really excited about learning now. Like I said, from getting my LCDC, I was raised in a place called Unlimited Visions Aftercare. As far
I've
as,
heard of Unlimited Visions.
yeah, that's where I started out. But I started out doing their floors, because
Understood.
I helped them open up a residential treatment center for adolescents in the Pasadena area. So it was just it was just a nasty facility there.
Mhm.
And so we cleaned it up, and she asked me to help do her floors. Of course, I had my time at TDCJ, so Department of Corrections. So they're real good teachers.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they're the ones that helped me learn how to do floors. And so I took that information, and like I said, sometimes when you have that X on your back, it's hard to get employment. That's how I ended up cleaning a lot, and started doing cleaning contracts and stuff. And so, she asked me to clean, and we helped do that, that building. And from then on, I just stayed on property, and I became a behavioral health tech and behavioral health tech supervisor as I was doing my practicum. And then, like I said, did my CI there, and
Yes.
and I was around a lot of strong women that pretty much, tore my work up when it was wrong. And it was really cool in hindsight.
Right.
But they taught me some good stuff. And then that's how I got introduced to coaching. And that's how I met Dillon West.
Was he your
Love of my
coach?
life. No, he was my instructor.
Okay.
I married the teacher.
Oh yeah. All right. Go Miss
Yeah.
West. All right.
Yeah, they said bring him an apple. He brings the teacher an apple.
You instructed him.
No, actually, it was a very respectful. I loved coaching, at least the concept, because I didn't know what it was then. But back in 2010, like I said, there was no paid positions or anything. It was just the idea of how to talk to someone that's actively using. Now, as a counselor, I would always feel bad that I'm talking to my client that just discharged 10 days ago. And I would really, really feel sad, man, what happened? So I realized, I was like, man, I wish I could walk out this door with them. I wish I could walk with them. I wish I could hang out with them, So that was my mentality then. That's when I was introduced to coaching, and I just loved the concept. So my boss at that time, she sent me to a coaching class. And at that time, I was also wanting to open up a recovery home for women. So I have 2 houses for men and 2 for women. So,
Wow.
but at first, that was 2011. And so I was really kind of just trying to do what my heart said do, provide a place, a safe, sober place for women to sober up.
Yes.
And in the meantime, I was really trying to see how we could sustain individuals in recovery. So that's how I got into coaching, because I asked Dillon to help me put coaching into the home. So the recovery coaches who came through class would do their practicum at the secret place. So
that's the name of your sober living.
that's the name of the women's home.
That's the name of the
The
women's
Center
home.
for Recovery and Wellness is the parent company, but
Okay.
the houses have their own name.
Oh,
The
okay.
Secret Place was the name I chose for the women's house because of Psalms 91. To be honest, and it's a prayer of protection,
Right.
and I thought we needed protection from ourselves, more or less. But you had to stay there to really kind of understand that we are our worst enemies.
Yes.
And, I think the coaching approach worked best with individuals with mental health and substance use. Because, I didn't initially start out trying to treat substance use, not treat, but support substance use.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that there was no one at that time would take women that were on medication. And so it's like that's every call I got. It was about,
Yes.
okay, this woman, she has medication. So no other place would take them. So that's how I ended up serving the co-occurring community. Even though, like I said, I, of course, trained, I didn't open the secret place to really work in it, just to provide a home. So it wasn't really about, this person needed any kind of guidance.
Yes.
We just wanted them to be supported. And so that's why coaching worked well. And and we're still there.
So you said medicated assistant treatment. So what is that? Can you explain that for some of the audience that do not
Okay.
know what that is?
Medication assisted treatment, that's if, they're on some kind of, like I said, I say any kind of medication. A lot of people, kind of zone in on the opioid use
Yes.
or MAT. But, medication has been around to assist treatment for years.
Mm-hmm.
So at that time, like I said, there were women that needed a place to stay just because they were taking their psych meds,
Mm-hmm.
and no one would let them in. So that's how I started helping. But now, like I said, when you talk about MAT, a lot of people are thinking about the medication of Suboxone or
The stigma behind that, right?
Well,
With-
the thing is, it's another medication to support treatment. I guess because of the opioid epidemic, more people are just focused on that right now. But I'm whatever it takes for that individual. I truly believe in recovery support services. I truly believe in people walking the journey that they need to walk for themselves. And they deserve support regardless of what they choose. And that's why I love, being the program director of the Center for Recovery and Wellness, because we do get to not only serve the community, but we also get to build coaches.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So you,
Coaches.
yes. So you support many pathways to recovery.
Absolutely. Now, for a long time, I thought AA was the only way.
Okay.
But like I said, as I evolved, I found out that, some people were mad at AA and they wouldn't come back in and they didn't want nothing to do with it. And so recovery support was, perfect
Yes.
to embrace an individual until they find their way. You can still walk with them until they decide which way they want to go, if they want to go anyway.
Mhm.
Yes.
They just wanted support, then, we would be there for them. And to help recovery coaches at that time, like I said, we came through where there was no dollar attached to it. Now, it's really important that we deal with the fidelity of coaching.
Yes.
Because if we're dealing with peers and people with lived experience helping others,
Exactly.
it's not new, is it?
No, it's not.
But still, again, now there's a paycheck tied to it.
Yes.
So a lot of people just want to get in the field. And I think we tend to forget our own personal recovery. So right now I'm witnessing a lot of coaches going back out. It's great to be of service, but you can't forget about your own health and wellness, your own recovery. One thing that recovery support has taught me is recovery first. That means my recovery.
Right.
And I
You
can't
are
forget, what I had to do to maintain, my sobriety, my recovery. Of course, recovery encompasses so much. It's holistic. So it's dealing with so much. So it's holistic.
It's a big
Holistic.
spectrum.
Oh yeah,
Big
I remember the
spectrum.
diagram.
Do you remember?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
you were a good
So
student.
Nick
Thank you, Miss
Nick is
Dorothy.
actually one of your students, right?
Yes,
So,
yes. It was a great experience. It was something like kind of spinning off what Miss Dorothy was saying. I didn't really even know. I mean, I was in my first year of recovery,
Uh-huh.
and I was working at a sober living, and I heard about recovery coaching class, and I didn't know what that was. I was like, "What's a recovery coach?" What? I'm kind of interested. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that there's actually a field that I can work in and use my experience and learn how to use that and actually make it a profession.
That's right.
And it was huge for me. It was a big breakthrough because I was moving forward, and myself, I had just gotten out of TDC,
Mhm.
and I just got out of treatment. So I had that, like you said, that X on my back, I felt like,
Yeah.
and so I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
I loved helping people. And I said, you mean to tell me that I can help people doing what I love to do and get paid for it.
Hello.
And my AA is like, my AA mind's going, oh my God, I'm doing God's work and he's paying me with spiritual banks. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a win-win for me.
It is.
And so that's when I met Miss Dorothy and Mr. Dillon. And I, they taught me so much. They taught me, Miss Dorothy has been there for me through my journey of recovery coaching and, as my supervisor hours and everything. And I'm so grateful for that, Miss Dorothy. I am. You've taught me so much, and it was such a joy going up there every Saturday. Me, my buddy Danny, Ryan. You remembered us?
Absolutely.
The three, musketeers. We come up there, hey, Miss Dorothy, what's up? We got our papers.
Give me an open-ended question.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was
close, Nick.
so hard for me. It was
Open-ended question.
Oh, man.
Yes. You evoke information from the individual, and the individual knows the most information about who themselves.
Yeah.
So you help them by pulling that out of them,
Self-
helping them see it.
self-directed,
Yes.
Yes.
empowering.
Yes, absolutely. So it was really neat working with you. It's neat to watch, individuals grow that, of course they get through class, but then they go their own ways and stuff. And, we had some times on Saturdays that we just go over the material. And I was like, when are you going to test? Go ahead and test.
Yeah, I was scared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, man, I don't think I have enough knowledge
I'm
here.
like, you got this.
I don't think I know because, in the class when we get the binder and we go over that week, and I know you said, look, after this class, we're going to go ahead. I suggest, I'm an addict early in recovery. I'm still kind of like, okay, yeah, I'll get there next week or something. That next week turned into a year and a half, right?
That's right.
And I finally went and got the test or whatever. But yeah, I remember you encouraging that. I had that fear,
Yeah.
I was, because this was huge for me.
Yeah.
The last accomplishment that I had made prior to this was my GED, getting my GED when I was 17, from that time on in my addiction and, going to TDC and all these other things, these other components.
Yeah.
It was something that I felt so proud of, getting that certificate. And man, I love it.
Yeah. Well, you studied hard. You were, all three of you were really diligent. It was refreshing to see, individuals every Saturday. I was like, maybe no one will come this Saturday, but I go.
Oh, yeah, right.
But here they
Where's
are.
Miss Dorothy? And you're like, all right, fine.
Can you share to people who want to be a recovery coach what the training looks like, the classes look like?
Well, it's evolving, especially with this coronavirus.
Okay.
It is evolving. Right now, I'm not the technical person, so we have to learn how to do training online, and I hate that because it's so interactive. There's a lot of exercises. So we were kind of, still trying to see how we wanted to do that because, hey, it is what it is.
It is.
But, the training is a 46-hour class, and it's over mentoring and education, advocacy, ethics, and recovering wellness. So it's just a bunch of domains that, you study, our class is a week long, Monday through Friday. Some people train it over the weekend, a couple of weekends. But as long as you have to get those 46 hours.
So does a person have to be in recovery for a certain amount of time for them to start taking the peer recovery coach classes?
Well, there's several different opinions there.
Okay.
It started out you had to be 2 years sober.
Remember that.
Mm-hmm. And it just, I guess over the years we started understanding that people come in after they have a year. And then there was also individuals that would be like up under an organization to where they would be working in that organization, and that organization kind of supported them or corralled them in. It's like was part of their curriculum or agenda.
Yes.
So we had a few like that. So and we keep close to all our training. Anybody we train, we're contacting and we're just offering that support because that's was a big deal. After you train people, then there was no kind of continuing education after that. So Dillon and I really, wanted to continue the huddle. We've been doing the huddle since 2011. So, and that's just kind of, getting those coaches together and keeping the fidelity of the information that they have learned, because we tend to want to drift back into what we're comfortable in,
Okay.
whether it's our AA language or, recovery has a language, and it's a skill set. It's just not, Good Samaritan. It is Good Samaritan. It is a person that is motivated to work in there. It is people with lived experience. There's just people that want to help people, but coaching is an art to me.
Yes.
It is an art, to help a person move through the stages of change.
The stages of change.
Yes, it's beautiful,
It is.
especially when it comes from them, when they can see, and for us to be patient enough for them to make the moves they need to make. Even though we're like, don't go that way.
Suggestive.
Yeah, it's like, okay, what
Suggestions.
kind of question can I pose, to
Yes.
Get them to look at
You
that.
get them to look at that.
Without
seeing
you-
people grow in their recovery process.
Exactly.
You see them in the beginning in their contemplation stage,
Mhm.
and then you see them work in their preparation and then their action, and then you see that beautiful maintenance stage. You just see that glow, you see that change.
Yeah.
And being in the recovery community, I've been able to see that change. When you get those, for me, I personally like working with women,
Mhm.
and seeing them in the beginning when they first get there, the unknowing of what recovery is going to look like. What does the process look like? What is it going to be expected of me?
Right.
What am I going to have to give up? What am I going to have to change? Well, everything. You have to change everything. Your thought process. You're going to have to learn to embrace your feelings and emotions, and that behavior is going to have to go.
Mhm.
And so being able to see the women who do the hard work,
Mhm.
because they're going to do that hard work, so they earn it, right? They earn their stripes, right? They earn that change in their life, and then to
Right.
see them blossom and to see them flourish.
Yes.
It's beautiful, because
Yes.
I've seen a lot of women in the recovery process, and I see them in the beginning, and then I see them years later, because like peer coaching, you walk alongside these women.
Mhm.
You're there to help them, right? To motivate them, but not to get in their way from learning to make those decisions, right? And even when we're uncomfortable with
Yeah.
that decision, to still
It's
support.
their life.
Exactly, it is their life, to support them. And so open-ended questions is
Yeah.
something that I've gotten really good at,
Yeah.
and asking, right? Because what I may see is the problem, they're not looking at that. So who am I to tell them? I'm just here to help guide them. I'm here to walk alongside of you.
Yeah.
And so me being a drug counselor, which is more of a clinician, right? So I'm listening to you, right? But peer recovery coaching, and I'm becoming interested. Maybe I should go and take that class and put that as well, so that I can have an understanding of both. Because as clinicians, we work along with peer coaches.
Right.
And so I feel like it takes a team of individuals to help a person in early recovery, to help them move along, to move forward in their life.
Right. Well, and I would welcome you to take that class if you haven't.
I haven't.
Because it really does, like I said, as a clinician, you always want to add new tools to your belt.
Exactly.
So, but I love the effectiveness of coaching, because it's a partnership.
It is.
And where, clinically I would be telling someone,
Yes, I understand.
which way to go.
Our code of ethics, our guidelines, our
Yeah,
rules.
for me, I don't want
Well,
to.
there's some significant code of ethics and,
Self-disclosing.
yes,
Don't
and
self-disclose.
conduct
Yeah.
that really does overlap into coaching.
Yeah.
So, to do no harm, but the partnership that you have with individuals, giving them ownership of their life and their
Yes.
recovery, that is, I believe, the appreciated approach, because, there's been so long since the stigmas and the labels of who we are, dumbass.
Talking at me, not with me.
Yeah,
Coaches
what's wrong
talk
with
with me.
you?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it was so deflating that we really forgot that we are in charge of our lives, instead of someone telling me what's best for me. you know. And so once I got that, because like I said, I had a wonderful MI coach, motivational interviewing coach. She worked for Search, and she drilled us for 2 years. I don't, I wasn't the best student, but I would start, and she's teaching me, and I would start out really well, and by the end of the coaching session, I end up with a counseling session. She says, well, you're doing good. But at the end, you map out everything they should do. And so I had to unlearn some things when I'm coaching that I do as a counselor. And it was just really neat. The journey's been neat to learn. So that's why I like to teach it, because, the time we have with individuals is imperative that we gain some distance there, gain some ground.
Yes.
We may not see that person again. So sometimes I feel as if we forget we're dealing with life or death.
Yes.
Battling this disease is ferocious. I remember being out there. It's really some serious stuff.
It is.
And so I just, I believe anytime a coach has an opportunity to sit with an individual, we got to gain some ground, and who knows what that is. I'm just saying, that is precious time.
It is.
Planting the seed of
Whatever
hope
it takes,
or whatever.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And meet them where they're at.
And how do I do that effectively? How do I take this hour, whatever time I have with this individual, no matter how many minutes, how can I help? Really? Am I really actively listening? Or am I just trying to pawn off a bus card? You know what I'm saying?
Thinking of ORs, open-ended questions, reflections, summaries, and affirmations. That is motivational interviewing.
So sometimes we have to kind of remind ourselves that this is, a profession that we have to learn the skills versus letting our hearts guide us out here. Like I said, we're seeing dead people. We're literally walking up on people. You've had that experience.
You had that experience now.
Yeah. And we have to, first of all, our own self-care is really important. That we're not, it's like, did we sign up for this, really? But
the altruism, right? The altruistic movement that I feel, and it's so hard, like what you're saying, to just, to separate my heart, because I can see, and like you said, it really struck me. You said, man, you might this might be the only final hour you meet this individual, but on the other end of that, right? Let's look at, like, from my point of view, I didn't listen to counselors. I didn't listen to people that weren't in recovery and didn't understand what it was that my life, what did I go through? And it just was the way I thought, it was my thought process. But if the empathy part of this whole thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody were to approach and say, hey man, let's go, you got an appointment, let's go there together.
Yeah,
Get a ticket. It's somebody that is in recovery that I can actively see that whole day. I can look at this person, and it's like I'm walking around with hope all day.
Yeah,
I'm walking around with hope, and I'm walking around with somebody that has my back and that knows what I've been through.
Right.
Instead of sitting there drawing a number, sitting there going, man, I still feel alone.
Yeah.
So. Right, and you were talking about, I know, the recovery coaching and self-care, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, because we don't want to transmit crumbs to people.
That's right.
We don't want to just tell somebody this, and this, and have open, but we're not taking care of ourselves.
That's right, and that's why I mentioned earlier. That's where I'm at. Even coaches, participants, anyone that's out there trying to do this deal one day at a time. We need to really look at sustainability of recovery and get out of the crisis. Individuals, sometimes have 16, 17, 20 episodes of treatment.
Oh yeah,
that you?
Mr. 17, 18 something. A girlfriend knows. She'll tell you.
That's as many times as you didn't give up. That's as many times as you stood up and took a look at that and was willing to fight what rightfully belongs to you.
Right.
And that is your life. That is your purpose.
That's right.
So it's how many times it takes is as many times as it's going to take, because eventually it's going to take.
That's right. And that's when it does take. what we need to really, look at is what other things we need to be learning besides how not to put the stuff in our body. What about budgeting? What about this? What about that?
Yes.
How do we live life?
Yes.
So actually the stages of recovery, the initiation stage, the stabilization stage, the, enhanced quality of life, we forget that we can obtain long-term recovery. But sometimes time goes by where we're constantly in the crisis, that we don't look at the stabilization phase.
Mm.
In the stabilization phase, we're really looking at, like me, I went towards the food, I ate my feelings,
Yes, I
It's like it's a
know.
lonely world.
Eating the criticism.
I'm-
Constructive criticism.
Me and Bluebell, we had a thing
Ooh.
going on.
Oh, man.
We have
So,
a thing
yeah.
going on.
So, I like to see us with the more healthcare issues, physical fitness. And then it seems like it's just going back to where I came from in my concern
Yes.
with fitness and human performance, So at CRWR, we got a program called RCheck. It's a recovery community health education kitchen. So we're building that now to where all the supports that a person may need to stabilize,
Yeah.
it's an education kitchen. We really want to teach entrepreneurship. We want to teach it. Sometimes people, a lot of times, oftentimes people show up in recovery with that X on their back like I did.
Mm-hmm.
And they get very frustrated. They're getting sober, but they can't get a break and get into the fields that they wanted to. Well, we want to create opportunity, purpose and meaning. So instead of just kind of like, hey, you can go over there and see if they're hiring, I want to be able to,
Give them a skill set.
give them a skill set where they walk away maybe with a food service manager, or maybe they
Wow, that's
maybe
great.
they learn QuickBooks, because
yes.
I had to learn QuickBooks.
PowerPoint, Word,
Right?
you had to learn it.
But I made a lot of mistakes before, I learned, or someone, taught me. I had to go get the education, more or less. But nevertheless, I think we have to be a little bit more proactive and believe that people can, will, and stay sober.
I believe
They
that.
do recover.
You do.
And we need to kind of set that foundation to help them, answer the question, what is my purpose?
Yes.
Because when I came in, I just wanted a job. I don't know, right?
Right. Yeah, I was grocery guy, grocery
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
You know?
But after you do that job a while, you kind of like, is this all there is to life?
Yeah, that's all there is to
I
life.
was lucky enough though. It was sober living, so I was like, "Hey man, you guys want to get the big book out? You guys want to do a big book study?" Nah, bro, what? And
No.
he had a couple guys that were like, "Yeah, man, let's do this," you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, the finding the purpose.
Yeah, because, well, like I say, dealing with the crisis is important, and getting them the right services or help that they may want is important. But I think a lot of us that have cycled through this deal over the years, maybe asking weightier questions than how do I get sober, especially like I said, the Center for Recovery and Wellness, the stats are somewhat between age 35 to 65, the population that we serve. Yeah, we serve young, but that's our biggest age group that comes through. And those individuals are pretty much aged out of a lot of things. Like I aged out being a ballerina. I wanted to be, that was my purpose. That's what I wanted to do. And, after all the time I spent on the street, it kind of confirmed that my ballerina days are over. So when I came in here, I had to really, of course, get the job that would help pay the bills. But I still had a hole in my heart on what I wanted to really do and feel valuable and useful. So I think helping individuals, guide that is where we stand now. Training more coaches, because of course there's Medicaid, opportunities. So coaches now have Medicaid training. So I'm just really excited for the future. It's a good day to be clean and sober. It's a good opportunity to sit with you all.
And so I heard you say crisis. So I've lost people since I've been in my recovery process, and particularly one last year, and it really hurt, right? Because you hear of people dying in their active addiction, you hear it happening, right? And it's still happening.
Yeah.
It hasn't stopped. So how are you able to deal when you know somebody who has passed away in their active addiction? How do you deal with those experiences when that happens? Have you experienced that?
Yes, I have. And I think that comes along with like I said, the self-care you do prior to
Yes.
someone passing away or someone relapsing. It's your own personal self-care that takes you through. It's pretty sad. It's really disappointing that people are passing away from the coronavirus. And a lot of people are dealing with that as well. In their faith, they're dealing with it the best way they know how. So I think even with the disease of alcoholism and drug addiction, we deal with it the best way we know how. We deal with a lot of family members
Yes.
that lose their loved ones to this disease.
Yes.
And connecting them, being a coach to them, connecting them to resources and people that understand, being part of that support group is one way I deal with it, to know that I was there at least to offer whatever support I could.
Miss Dorothy, I got a quick question. Where do you find this support? Like, where do you were talking about, because I know a lot of parents, right? And one in particular I stay in contact with on a weekly basis, and my heart goes out to her, and she tried so hard to get this young man sober,
Sure.
tried so hard, but hey, I'm going to please, help my son,
Yeah.
and I tried my best. And I still keep in contact with her. She sends me mail. She sent me something last week like this. Anyway, but I don't know what to. I don't really know where to direct her, or like how do I help this lady that's like it's the sweetest lady I've ever met.
Yeah.
And so resources as far as that goes, I wanted to ask you, would you have any suggestions?
Well, you have to really just get steeped on who has family programs. You can always look at the Council on Recovery is a good resource there. Like I said, we do family groups and sessions at the center. We also have parents that sign up to become another parent supporter, So it's like they've been through it, and it's like you haven't, but that's a resource, but they actually get someone that's either going through it too, that may be in Al-Anon, that may, I think, even in this stay-at-home order, one parent called because we had our hotline, on the website, and so she calls, and she was looking for an Al-Anon meeting, and there was, it's kind of like I wasn't prepared. I was at home, and but I knew of a woman that was going through, and she was in Al-Anon, and I talked to her often. So I just asked if I can connect the two. So it's just, I guess, just being there and being willing to.
Empathy.
Yeah, and like I said, you can always research a lot of different places that may have that family support.
Right, and I feel like as a recovery coach, my job is not only that, but also to have resources on hand to be ready for whatever it is. It's not just recovery coaching for the people that I'm coaching, but it's there's so many other factors.
That's right.
Right, it's
That's
like
right.
what you said, holistic. There's so the lives attached to their lives. You know what I mean? And that's something that I. That I'm growing to learn, and that I wanted to learn, about, when you said you have family groups and things like that, of that nature, I think that is awesome.
Yes. Well, you kind of got to just have I would say, a well-rounded type of mentality, because this disease affects so many different
It does.
people.
And especially we were talking about the opioid epidemic that's going on right now. And, I remember at first I was against the whole MAT thing because
Me too, until I got educated.
Okay.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
you have to get educated on the whole MAT because a lot of people think that abstinence is the only way to achieve recovery. And so in the beginning of my recovery, I had that mindset as well until I got educated.
Yeah.
And I started to see numbers where it was helping individuals through their recovery process and helping them be successful in their own lives, obtaining these small goals. So I also, too, had to change my perception, my viewing on how I viewed this, right? And so by becoming educated and becoming knowledgeable, it changed, right? Because, when you're in school, they teach you that, you got to do these projects and you got to write a paper to get graded.
Right.
So it really helped me have a bigger and greater understanding that it's about the wellness and health of an individual. Abstinence, yes, we want them to achieve abstinence. Yes, we no longer want you to cope with that substance. However, if this treatment is going to keep you from using heroin and it's going to save your life in the long run, then why not give it a try? Right. Why not help an individual move to the next step instead of shaming and guilting an individual on how they choose to move in their recovery process, right? To get towards their healing phase. So that was something that I learned myself about a year ago.
Yeah. Possibly help them reach their full potential, just like the definition
recovery.
of recovery. That's right.
Yeah.
So if it helps them improve their quality of life,
yes.
I feel like it's such a good, like a happy medium because of the stigma. Because I know, and this is something that I learned, and I don't know where I got this from, but the number one safety hazard, social, with society is alcohol and drug addiction, right? And so, with that being said, right, on that, thinking about that side of it, right, where people that don't understand, the addiction, I feel like it's the most misunderstood illness on the face of the planet. I do. I feel like it's still to this day. There's so many people that, because it looks like a moral thing. It looks like, and it's not. And so,
absolutely not.
And so, with that being said, right, I feel like with the way we're able to convince and meet that happy medium is say, well, look, we're going to have our guys or people like the Suboxone, the methadone. I feel like it's less self-harm in a way, and it's I feel like another thing that when it goes along to society, right, when it keeps a heroin addict that's detoxing to go off and do something that they're going to be locked up for 10 years,
that's
and then you have some family or somebody that's so you look at it from that perspective as well, right? And
absolutely. So you changed your perception.
Oh man,
Exactly.
because my AA thought was complete entire abstinence, and so when I heard Dillon talk about if you have somebody, he gave me an example. He said if you have somebody, you're working with somebody, and you have a guy that comes in and says, look, I'm not drinking anymore, but I did cocaine, and then he said, is that person in recovery? And I was like, hell no.
It's called harm reduction.
Oh, yeah. And so I was like, hell no. I was like, I'll tell that prick no. It's just my mindset. No, bro, you better clean your nose out, dude. No, bro. And so it opened my. He said they're in recovery when they say they're in recovery, and that there was a light bulb that went off in my head because I go, oh my God, who am I to tell somebody else where they're at in their recovery? Oh man, come on now.
It starts
It humbled me. Oh man, it humbled me.
We have to learn harm reduction.
Yes.
When it's reducing less harm in a person's life, that's what it is. So I had to learn that as well. I learned it as well.
Yeah, and so it's like you said, it's a self-directed, empowering. You were saying open-ended questions, and I'm so interested to learn so much more. You know what I mean? Because I know that once that hit me, there were so many different things where I said, "Aha," and it makes sense. And I was like, "How perfect!" Because we need people, we need coaches. The necessity for that out there, because I feel like not only the harm reduction, but the understanding, the empathy, the help. I'm going to get more help. If I was like, where was my recovery coach when I was out there, man? You know, man, who would have known? Who knows? I could have got, but obviously that's God's thing, right? There's a reason why that all happened. But I look back on it, and if I were to put myself in that position, like I said earlier, with drawing a ticket and going up, and I'm alone at MHMRA, and I don't know, I've been here, this is my third time coming up in here, and I got the doctor telling me, well, you just got to stay sober, dude.
Right.
Here's some medication, 30 days. Here's some, this and that. You got to wait till it kicks in. I'm over there trying to change the way I feel, and I'm trying to get housing and this and that. And I'm like, I come back and go, well, did you stay sober? No. Why not? Well, I don't know. I didn't know what was wrong. I didn't know what was going on.
Yes.
Here's a big book. Here, go to AA. You try the 12 steps. And I'm like, give me a break, man.
Yeah.
And so anyway, if I would have had that coach there, I feel like things would have been a lot different.
Yeah, and that's why I have such gratitude to those individuals that were out there pushing for coaching. Like I said, I came through in 2010 when the state hadn't really, caught a hold of it. It was recovery community organizations around Texas. So there was some individuals that were out there just screaming that this works. And Dillon being one of them, he went to got trained in Connecticut and brought it to Houston. And like I said, we trained over thousands, not thousands, a good many coaches. I don't know the number right off, but goodness,
Well,
it's been a lot of
999
classes.
plus one.
Yes.
Woo!
I know a lot of
do some
coaches.
Jay-Z
Yeah,
thing there.
there's
but
Amelia Murphy who came through that. There's Kathy Griffin, and there's a lot of people that forged this deal. Was at the
Lanisha.
state capitol,
Oh, yeah.
Lanisha. Well, she came in. Like I said, we got a new generation of coaches now. But these are the ones at the very beginning that were shouting and advocating for recovery as a way of life. And they tend to be forgotten, or because we have the new generation coming up and a little bit, that we're old now. So, but I love it that they're carrying the torch.
Yes.
Lanisha,
Misha.
Jessica Yeager. There's a lot of good coaches out there, but you know what? Don't forget, there were people that had to usher this thing in.
Yes.
That now, like I said, they might be, kind of back in the shadow a little bit, but they're still out there and still going to the state, going to different functions all over the United States, nationally, to make sure recovery coaching is represented. Just recovery support. In its
Michelle Hansford.
Yes,
Michelle
absolutely.
Hansford played an instrumental part in that.
Absolutely. There's a lot of them. I can't think of all, but those are just the ones on the top of my head. There's Joe Powell, Philanda Moore, who worked for the state at that time. Oh my
Bill
God.
White, didn't you give us, I remember you gave us an assignment, and it was, I think the individual's name was Bill White.
Bill White.
Yes.
The
So-
white papers.
Yes.
Recovery Rising.
Push up to Bill White. Yes.
So talking about the necessity for recovery coaches, on that, one thing I wanted to ask you, or we'll talk to you about also, is this thing, I think we've had this conversation before one-on-one about how the state-funded facilities, right, how because they're the ones that are paying for these individuals to get treatment, they're the ones that also go in and say, well, since we're paying for this, this is how I want you to run this.
Well, that's generally, you have to get some kind of results when you are, when a person is in treatment. And it's not, a bad thing. It's just that what kind of evidence-based material is that facility going to put out there to help that person? And so therefore, between the facility and the state, sometimes there's a curriculum or something that you have to follow.
Right.
And it's all meant for the good, but sometimes it can look a little cookie cutter. It looks the same.
Oh yeah.
And
mustache at Cheyenne Center.
So, but still, again, thank goodness for recovery coaching coming in on the back end to walk with that person out of the treatment doors, because that counselor worked hard to deliver the services that they had to deliver. Right. And it's nice to connect them to a coach that can walk with them as they leave treatment.
The confidence.
It was a struggle between not all LCDCs or, not all clinicians. Some embrace coaching that could see that the relationship could complement each other.
It does.
And it does very nicely. There's not, I think it's less of a power struggle going on now
Okay.
because there's evidence today that coaching is a complement to the clinical world. So treatment and recovery support services tend to work together very well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like peanut butter and jelly.
Yes.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank
What
you.
does Risa say? Not sorry.
Yeah.
It takes a team.
That's right.
It takes a team to help a person in their recovery process. It's not just one person. It's not just a clinician. It takes a team of people that are willing to walk alongside an individual in the recovery process.
That's right.
So me as a clinician, I am a clinician. And so I highly believe that being a part of a team, introducing somebody to walk that walk with with the peer, right?
That's right.
Because we as clinicians, we have guidelines. We have to stay and remain within a box.
That's right.
We have a code of ethics. We have a code of conduct. And it's careful because, we're mandated by the state of Texas, right? So we have to play the role. And so that role comes with guidelines and to stay within them. So it's good to partner off a recovery coach because their code of ethics, their guidelines are different than
Yes.
ours. So to pair them up with that, I don't see... That's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's a win-win because it's not a power struggle. It's about keeping the client.
Yes.
It's about helping the client. That's the
right.
way I see it. I'm one of those new clinicians that are coming into the recovery field who believe in that as well because Amelia Murphy was a really big person in my early recovery. She taught me my recovery definition. Recovery is a process of change in which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, and strive to reach their full potential. She taught me that.
Amen.
She taught me that.
That's right.
And Lanisha was working alongside of her, and she would go in there. And so she's another big instrumental part
Yes.
in my early recovery that helped me along with Santa Maria, which was a school for me, teaching me tools and skills to apply in my everyday life, taking a look at my post-traumatic stress disorder, taking a look at my substance use disorder, learning to deal with my trauma because I just was not willing to look at my trauma. I don't want to look at it. I've numbed for 25 years, and now you're asking me that I have to relive my worst nightmare and giving me the resources and the tools to help me to be able to revisit that.
Exactly.
Houston Area Women's Center played a really huge part in that, of coming into the treatment center. And I remember sitting in Santa Maria, and I remember a lady from the Houston Area Women's Center talking about domestic violence, talking about sexual assault. And I'm like, oh my God, she's talking about me, right? And then with the big old cherry on the top, my substance use disorder, because now I was active in my using. So taking a look at that and then learning to dissect each part, right? Taking a look at each area and being okay. I don't want to say okay because it's not okay from the trauma that I endured, just letting it be.
Yes.
Letting it be where I was at and where I am now and evolving into my purpose, right? Because I have a purpose today, right? And so having to revisit that, I still take a look at that trauma to this day.
Sure.
I'm 7 years in recovery. I've been 6 years in my healing process, right? Taking a look at that trauma, learning to not let it come and soil my life today because my life is good, right? My life is good. I've worked really hard to be where I am in my life. I earned it. I faced that fear. I walked straight through hell, got what belonged to me, and walked right back out, right? And learning to be comfortable in my own skin, right? Being comfortable in my own skin, and learning to just learning everything, right? So I'm always continuously learning, because if you think that you know everything, then you're doing an injustice to yourself.
Absolutely.
Because you're always growing. So in this time, in this moment that we are being self-quarantined, I'm taking the opportunity to get to know me better.
Awesome.
Like,
awesome.
Hello, Cecilia, how are you doing? A reintroduction of who I am, but in a deeper level. So that's the time that I've taken aside, because I've learned patience, because I was uncomfortable with I'm stagnant. I got my LCDC, and I'm not working in a facility, in a treatment center, and I just got certified. And in the beginning, I was not okay with that. I do work at Santa Maria Hostel as a translator, but I'm not an essential. So, being at home and learning to be okay with where I am in my life, because I'm stagnant only in my professional life. I'm not stagnant and growing in my life, just in that area. And I had to learn that. I had to take a look at that. Like, there'll be time to do what my purpose is. Because my purpose is to help other individuals in their active addiction to achieve their recovery process, to achieve their goals, to become a successful person in life. So that's what I've learned.
Yes.
So.
Yes. I'm on your team.
I've been doing weird, not weird, but like new stuff. I was gonna say weird, but like new stuff too. Like I bought a BMX bike, and I haven't gone BMX in like 15 years. I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My buddy Jeremiah was like, "Hey man, what's up, dude? We're gonna tear it up, man. You got a ripper." I was taking a picture of it.
Yeah.
Biking? What? I just had this. I could do that now.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just because of the corona, but I'm learning things about me that I'm able to now, because of my recovery and where I'm at in my life. I'm able to explore and do these things that I was never interested in before, because I had a one-track mind. I feel like, and B, because I get to.
Yes.
So to be in a level where you're at today, to have these facilities to help women. I mean, you were saying you had 2 homes for men and 2 homes for women, and to be able to do that as well, it's fulfilling. Right?
Yeah, it is, but it's such a necessity. Sometimes, in my own transparency and honesty, it's tiring. Because, at one point in time, which I was there too, the pain drives me in. And so you deal a lot with individuals that the pain is driving them in, needing a place to stay. So, give them a week or so.
So self-care. You said self-care is important. What do you do to self-care? What does that look like?
Oh, what does it look like to me? I have this hot tub.
Jet.
Yes. It has a lot of jets. And I kind of got a pattern, and I do kind of work out a little bit, just since the quarantine and just the stay at home. I've been doing a little bit more working out, because I love to eat and cook, and you probably tell that. But
we all love food.
But nevertheless, there's just a feeling of gratitude that I have. Of course, I still do some of my prayer meditation that I was taught way early in recovery. Yes. I know it by heart, but I picked up the book.
Just wondering.
Yes.
I had to throw that out there for some reason.
You're absolutely
I don't know
right.
why, but yeah. Well, cool.
So there's I believe in putting God first place in my day. And, I'm not ashamed to say it. That's my pathway. That's my love,
God-centered.
My higher power makes, me, effective. Because left to my own devices, I have a very bad day. Everything's a struggle.
Yeah.
So like I said, I've been conditioned, and I've been, taught that way, and it's not to impress anyone. It's just that this is how I found out works best for me.
It's gratitude.
Yeah, and
Gratitude
so
is a big instrumental part, I think, in for a lot of people in the
Yeah.
recovery, because I have to be grateful too in those moments
yeah,
where I'm not okay. And
Yeah.
so then to tune in, right, to embrace gratitude always seems to
Right.
get me out of that self-defeating thought process, right?
exactly, and especially during these times, I try to be a little proactive in how do you keep a recovery home safe during this time, So, you know, so everyone's kind of, they're full of anxiety. They're wanting to move around and just to tell them to stay home and they're jittery and it's
By the
just
bike.
it's been amazing to try to um, set the boundaries, but yet understand their needs, and it may, when it comes down to my self-care, I guess this is where I'm going to, is if I plug into what I need to do for my recovery, then when they call with, she ate my Twinkie, when they call with, all these other things that goes on in these recovery homes, you can more or less, help them with with a proper response.
Yes.
That no, it doesn't escalate the situation. It doesn't take sides. It doesn't, blame. It doesn't hurt. But if I didn't have, that kind of self-care, then I think I would be drained. And there's days I get drained. So there's days that I have to retreat because I know I'm not there. And that's okay too. It's okay for me not to be spiritually grounded at all times. It's okay for me to be fatigued and tired. I've learned quite a bit about self-care. And so you got to know when. I used to pick up my phone constantly. My phone, it didn't have an off button, and which Dillon was like, you need to leave that phone alone. You need to turn it off. And I'm like, turn off the phone,
What is that?
You've been in business in the recovery field for 17 years. You've been in recovery for 17 years, so you've been in business a lot of that time as well.
Yes.
So finding a balance between work life
Mm-hmm.
and your own life, right? Because they say that a lot of people that work in the recovery field, that eventually we become burnt out.
Yeah.
And so that was a really big issue for me of seeing a lot, seeing a lot of people in the profession getting burnt out.
Yeah.
And so it was always important for me to always maintain, to keep that fire, to keep that passion lit, right? So self-care is an important part of my life that I have to take a look at
That's right.
at all times.
At all times.
At all times, because that is an important, essential component in order to help others, right?
That's right.
Because I know a lot of people that become burnt out in this field. And so then they're less effective in helping individuals because they see, statistically saying, a lot of individuals that come into the recovery process, 1 out of 10 make it. That's statistically speaking, data shown. So a lot of LCDCs, a lot of clinicians see a lot of the negatives, right? Not only one person coming out of this life. So people tend to get a little jaded, right, in the profession.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I'm sitting here and I'm talking to you, you haven't become jaded. You are not burnt out. The passion is still lit. You're still on fire to help others, right? In the pursuit of happiness, right?
Yes, I love what I do. They say if you love what you do, you don't work a day in life.
Miss Dorothy,
And
you got a solid foundation.
I love what I do. I love people, and mainly, it's just it's so cool to add to the ranks of us out here helping each other.
Yes.
When you see the light come on, with an individual, then that's another fellow soldier out here. We're all aiming at the same enemy. We're not aiming at each other. We're not tearing each other down. We're really trying to stay focused on the disease. That the disease is not the person.
Yes.
I am a person in recovery. I am not the alcoholic I was. I'm not the dope fiend.
The
I'm
junkie,
not
the
drunk
crackhead.
or the crackhead today. And I help, it's wonderful that I can help, a person with their identity by calling them worthy, by calling them, capable and able. Because I know how they probably not only have heard those names before, but they've also maybe internalized some of them, and they may think that's who they are. So it's really cool for them to step into the shoes of a person, because I remember being a beast out there, felt like a beast,
Yes.
lived like a beast. And today I'm a person in recovery. I don't identify myself with the disease, and I think that's the most powerful thing, is to help them, to see who they are as a person.
That's right. I agree with you,
Mhm.
Dorothy.
Getting all those components out of the way so they can let God come in.
Oh, yeah.
And let the scrunching all that down.
Yeah.
Let all those components that are addiction or my addiction has come. It's cool to let. Hey, let's take those out. Let's take those out. Hey, look at you now.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it's cool to watch you, man. You're
Yeah.
twinkling. And,
Oh, well,
it's like
I'm
recovery does
I'm so
well with you.
passionate about this.
Yes.
You know what I mean, Dorothy?
Yes.
And so I'm so passionate about this. I'm coming up on 4 years,
Woo.
by the grace of
All
God,
right.
on August 22nd, and it's
Yes.
such a blessing. Because I should have been dead so many times.
Me and you both.
And I wanted to say real quick about the discipline part, about the awareness, the level of awareness, how you have to plug in with your creator, in other words, right? So that way
Mhm.
it's important for me, because when I did my AA, that was an investment for me
Mhm.
for the future, because my program of AA kind of just went. I grabbed what I could out of that and learned, and it
Sure.
grew into what, like you said, I don't really 86, but I don't go out of the book, but I have my 86,
Mhm.
right? So which is so important to plug in, so that way your level of awareness.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so you always have that to fall back on whenever you get in a rut or whenever this and that. You always say, you can remind yourself. It's easy to remind yourself that
Mhm.
you're no longer, you're not in control. It's up to him.
Absolutely. That's beautiful.
So the investment,
Yeah.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So Dorothy, we're running out of time.
Sure.
I just wanted to say thank you very much
Thank
for letting us.
Pick your brain.
Yes.
Take my
In your heart.
If there's something that you could say who someone is coming into early recovery, what advice or what would you tell that individual in early recovery that's unsure about the process? Oh, it's not going to work, or why should I try? What would you tell that individual?
Good, you're worth it.
You're worth it. So you're worth trying.
Mhm. Recovery first.
All right, I got.
So you got to read
So
that.
we had some questions online.
Oh, we have questions?
So Nolan had a question.
Okay, so Nolan had a question. I didn't know we were going to have
He
time
wrote
for
it down.
Q&A.
No, you're good.
So, okay. So Nolan asked, is your sister you spoke of the same one who surprised you today?
No. Actually, that is my second oldest sister that surprised me today. Yes.
Oh, okay.
She came in from Denver at 5 o'clock.
So he said that mended relationships are powerful.
Yes.
That's the same sister, right, that you had gone to Denver to help?
No, actually, that was my oldest sister. And I have another older sister that showed up today.
Okay.
Yeah, I hadn't seen her about 2 years, so she
Oh.
surprised me.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
And then he also asked, do you have any trauma groups? And then are there any anger classes that you provide, Dorothy?
Okay, we have on Tuesday at 3, we just added this because a lot of our meetings have been online now. Well,
Mhm.
not just online, but been like conference calls and
Zoom?
we don't Zoom too
No?
much because, our population has limited technology, maybe flip phones and things like that. So
Okay.
I try to, and as I got my education, tried to figure out what would be the best thing to use. So one number that doesn't change where you don't have to do too much with dial in. Tuesday, we have what we call anger danger. And it's just a meeting people can call in and just, talk about.
Can you provide us with that number?
Sure, not right off the top of my head.
Okay. We're going to post it on the comment
Yes,
section later on.
Uh-huh.
We can post it on the comment section later.
Make sure you give my girlfriend that number too. That'd be cool too. She's definitely got a business card for that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anger danger. Amber
Anger
danger.
danger.
Somebody's
yeah.
not gonna have a fun Friday night.
No, we're gonna get Snickers.
So we also have our medicated assisted recovery group on Wednesday night. We do trauma informed care on Wednesday around 2:30.
Okay.
All recovery meetings, win a circle meetings. So we're really just trying to continue some of the same in-person meetings that we would normally have, but over the phone. So, yes, and a schedule of those meetings can be found on our website at wellnessandrecovery.org.
Okay.
Post that too. Nick, do you want to read the outro?
Oh yeah, sure. I'll read this thing here. I'll try not to sound robotic. You guys bear with me, okay? Thank you for tuning in to Houston Recovery Radio. We have another guest, Jessica Yeager, on Friday. So this coming Friday, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, at 8 p.m. Was that supposed to? Okay. Don't. All right. Yes, sir. Thank you. Yes, Jeremiah, come over here and do that, will you? Hurry up. We have a. Yeah. There you go. He's trying to bring the. Thank you, sir. We are struggling to find right equipment for our audio production side of things. If any of y'all want to donate any equipment to Houston Recovery Radio, please give us a shout via Facebook or Twitter, or we have a GoFundMe page. Anything helps, even if it's like $5. The money we raise will help us give more and more back to the community. We also have entry-level sponsorships for people or companies that want to help us as well. Thank you for all the support and well wishes through this process. Without this community, we wouldn't be able to do this. That's all for now. See you, all freaks, to the next one. That's Jeremiah for sure. That last, you see a robotic man right here. You should have drawn your face right here.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Miss Dorothy.
Thank you, Miss Dorothy.
Love you so much.